All right, we are recording. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Rich Sanford again, Rich the Architect, and today I am honored to have a guest. Her name is Lisa Joswick with Blackbook. She is a bookkeeper. She has a bookkeeping practice. So if you're ever looking for bookkeeping for your business, Lisa's the one for you. So Lisa, I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So Lisa, why don't you just start, tell us a little bit about Blackbook and the services you provide, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So Blackbook is a bookkeeping service that we focus more on the process side of bookkeeping, so streamlining processes to make life much easier for business owners and management teams of all different sizes. Our big real core focus is aligning software with the process. So we don't utilize old school, pen and paper. We really rely on today's technology to streamline and automate. So that's really where we are very different.
Okay.
And we try to make, numbers fun, and for the people that aren't really interested or, aren't numbers people, we try to educate and provide the services in a way that makes our clients excited to know about their numbers. So that's kind of like our superpower that we kind of focus on. It's always a goal of mine, if I know you don't like numbers, to make you like numbers.
Okay. So so you would also kind of do some business planning as well with that?
So as far as business planning, what we don't do is any of the actual tax planning or formation of the company. But what we would do is cash planning. So right. Forecasting, helping people that are trying to start a business come up with a cash flow. If they're not educated enough in that or feel comfortable enough doing that on their own. That is a service that we would provide, with templates and kind of just some high level, holding your hand through that process. Okay,
but yeah, so there could be some month-to-month planning, looking at our profit loss and
yes,
and all of that. And okay, I got
you.
Yeah,
so we don't do taxes, but we do like to align with CPA firms, because our goal is to make the CPA firm, their life easier at the end of the year when it comes time for taxes. Right. So we like to hand over the books in a way that the CPA can just do the taxes and don't have to worry about gathering all the information that sometimes is left until the end of the year. So we like to say we're the CPA's, best friend.
Yeah. So if you had, I'm kind of just thinking of myself as a solo practitioner, mm-hmm. So let's just say I have a revenue goal of $12,000 a month. Right. But then I get a revenue of 15,000, so let's just say, okay, so I got that 3,000, you could come in and say, hey, maybe you want to take that 3,000 and invest it into your business for, whatever new computers, not, or.
So not necessarily. That's more like financial advisor. What we do is we just come up with more so the templates and guidance, not necessarily the advisory side. So if you wanted to use that $3,000, I could give you, the template of how to manipulate those numbers and see, how you could utilize it.
Right.
But it would be totally up to you on how you would use it. I wouldn't give the recommendations there.
Okay. So you actually probably would be handy. I have an actual experience this past week, a bookkeeping issue that I was having, and I'll kind of ask you this question. So I had a situation where I have an outsourcing source that I have, some of the services I provide with 3D scanning, right? And this other company that I outsource to, typically I would hire them hey, I need to scan this new project. They go out, they do it, they invoice me, I pay them, but we had a kind of a flip experience where they were scanning something for somebody, a hotel, right? It was a bigger job, but they were like, hey, can we use your camera that you have and we'll rent it from you for a day or two? I was like, yeah, sure. So they, and it was just like, they've done it. This wasn't the first time, but so I owe them an invoice, right? But then I'm charging them for using this piece of equipment. So our talk, and hopefully in a recorded thing, I'm not getting in trouble tax wise, but I was like, hey, why don't we I was like, okay, I'll charge you this much, but then I'll deduct that from the invoice. So essentially, we're like taking cash payments from each other. But then when I had to go, and I use QuickBooks. So I was like trying to get it into QuickBooks, and I couldn't quite put it, like, I was just like, I had to like delete deposits and redo it and like kind of look stuff up on Google or whatever. Because I was like, wait, it's not doing what I wanted it to do. I just wanted to receive the payment and apply that payment to another invoice in a way.
So that's a perfect example. That's exactly what we would help you with.
Okay.
So we're actually QuickBooks Pro advisors as well. So although we do work with specialized softwares, QuickBooks is really the software that I use the most. But we do use other ones, but that is a perfect example. So if you have any issues with invoicing, how to use the software, kind of coming up with the creative ways to do exactly what you just explained. That's something we would do. If we weren't doing like the normal bookkeeping, those are kind of like, I call like the ad hoc services that we provide, on call, or, sometimes we have retainer clients where there are situations where they need us like that. So they'll, we're on call for them. So yeah, that was a perfect example.
Okay. And then, so it sounds to me too, like you have services, you have different types of packages of services.
Yes.
Okay. So you could do like, I could hire you for every, hey, I need you to do my books every week or something like that. But to, like you were just saying, like almost like an as needed basis as well. Is that your typical range, or?
Yeah. So actually, really what makes us very different from, a lot of typical bookkeeping services is we really focus on the process. So really, you're coming to us and you're wanting to use Blackbook because you believe in the process that we put in place. So to respond to you saying, like, if you wanted your books done every week, they're not done every week. They're done every day. They're done. So it's more so we streamline and we automate things so that way your books are always up to date. And then we work with you to come up with more accountability check-ins. And so it's not just, we're not reactive, we're very proactive. And we help businesses come up with a process so that way, you're not sitting there wondering what your financials look like, and then somebody comes in and does them very reactively. We actually put the process in place so that you know exactly what you're getting and when you're getting it and how you're getting it.
Okay. So do you have like some technology or processes where like, like I'm just thinking, I don't I probably have higher sales, but not a high volume of sales.
Right.
Right. So, like, let's just say I could get 3 clients pay me this week and I'll just have 3, so I'll make 3 deposits, from that. And then, I'll have a few bills to pay and stuff like that. So like, I don't consider my books to be necessarily complicated. Right. But if I hired you to help me with that, and I make the deposit on those payments, like what are the steps that you have on your services that would, whether it's automate the process or keep, like you're saying, the books are up to date, like automatically, that I wouldn't require me personally to go into QuickBooks or something to record that deposit?
Yeah. So in that particular case, you would just sync, you would sync your online banking to QuickBooks so that way everything is streamlined and automated right from the get-go.
Okay.
And then like if you did hire, us, we would just be matching things in the system, and then knowing which deposit that, if you weren't going into QuickBooks, we would come up with the process individually with you on how that would work.
Okay.
But we really do utilize the technology where we sync to the bank accounts. So
Okay.
that way we always know what transactions are coming through. So that way nothing is missed.
Right.
So.
And I would assume, well, like, I mean, do you have any kind of like, I'm trying to think of like a higher volumes, like maybe like a restaurant client. I mean, yeah. So what, yeah, what actually, yeah, that I guess the better question is like, what types of businesses do you serve?
So actually, we do work with restaurants and some of the breweries locally, but really where our core value and where you get the most value out of us is where we're able to really be utilized as an outsourced kind of finance department. So we work with a lot of construction companies and professional services where they're actually working with subcontractors. And so they're receiving bills that need to be paid. And sometimes there's a lot of them happening. There's a lot of various projects and jobs happening at once. And we would come in and help put the processes in place. So, at any given time, what outstanding projects are happening, what subcontractors need to be paid based upon, draws received on that. So really it's more, you would utilize us to manage that whole, the back end of your projects. So we do work with a lot of, marketing firms, any types of like management firm that's providing a service where they're, hiring subcontractors or, if they have a lot of recurring revenue, the same clients over and over, we help put the process in place on making sure that the invoices are going out the door, that kind of stuff. But we also do work with restaurants and breweries. The only problem there is we're more reactive in that sense. So because restaurant software is so sophisticated, usually QuickBooks is just used for tracking expenses. It's not for tracking all the other, KPIs and sales and all that kind of stuff. So we just come in and we take the high level numbers from the restaurant, software and then bring it in. And then, so at least you have financials. But really we work best where we're able to provide our core value service, which is, managing the whole back end of, your financial operations.
Right. And do you, because it's funny, because like the service you were telling about, like contractors and all that, obviously I kind of fall into that category. One of the things I find is a difficult thing that I'm dealing with is the cash flow issues, right? Because when you're mentioning subcontractors and draws and things like that, like I have some projects where I don't get paid for 90 days.
Yes.
So, and then I have other like let's just say my commercial projects, that's what happens on commercial projects. Not everyone, but let's just simplify it. Commercial projects, let's say it's a typical 90-day draw. My residential projects is more like, pay on receipt. What's the technical term? Due on receipt, right? So I can get quick cash flow through the residential, but those are smaller payments versus the big payments, but I got to wait 90 days in some cases. So are there services there that you provide because you like that can kind of help with that cash flow?
Help with it in the sense that if you go back to your example of, I have $3,000 left, what do I do with it? So just to back up for a second, my background is actually a CFO. So the whole reason why I started a bookkeeping service is because I recognized a very, very big need that a lot of companies didn't have, which was the simple bookkeeping process. But my background is CFO, so I understand really how much all of these numbers are important. So one of the services that we provide is the CFO, more so exactly that situation. So we provide the services of helping you kind of forecast. And that's another good example because we do have a lot of clients that they don't get paid for 90 days. So if you use that example of, you have $3,000 left, my role there would be, okay, here's what's happening. here's what I suggest, but it's your decision. But I just want to remind you, you're not getting paid, for X amount of days, and you have these upcoming payments that are going to be due. So you just want to keep that in mind. So it's not necessarily advisory. It's more so recommendations. It's part of the service that we do in our forecasting.
Right.
But it's not like, it's very different than tax advisory and financial advisory, because, we're not telling you what to do with your leftover money. It's just more of recommendations. But
well, and then another question that just comes up, because I have like other architects listen to this podcast and other, professional services provider, I'm assuming, but a common thing, like I'm in a private Facebook group that are architects, right? So a common thing that comes up is like, oh, how much do you charge? Things like that. So would you get involved in discussions like that? Like, look, my business, I've been in business for 12 years, but I'm sure if somebody like yourself came in, maybe the solution, if I have a problem, the solution may be like, well, you know what, you're not charging enough, that type of thing, or does that come into play?
So one of the biggest impacts of the reporting is knowing your gross margins. So the reports that we provide very clearly over time will start to tell you if you're charging enough. So not that I'll, help you come up with how much money you should be charging, but you'll be able to tell in your reports that, my margins are really going down, and something, my expenses are staying the same. What's happening here? So at least through seeing the different types of reports that we provide, you'll be able to clearly recognize if something starts to decline, or if your subcontractors, if their prices start going up, you'll start to notice. You'll be like, wait, my revenue is the same, everything else is the same, but my subs are going up. So then you're like, okay, well, now I do have to increase my prices. So that is something we provide, but it's all through the reporting. So, but I don't want to forget to say this. One of the common things as far as the process is concerned that we help, you would be a perfect example of this. So when there's projects where there's a whole bunch of subs that need to be paid, a lot of businesses that pay by check right now, so regular check. Mm-hmm. If you're not aware, like the postal service right now is very wacky. Like like some, and I know from experience, and I'm not just saying it's like, oh yeah, your check's in the mail. No, I know, and I have proof of things that no, your check was put in the mail like 3 weeks ago, and it's just going to Philly. So one of the things that I really, really, really try to get my clients to do is to actually set their subs up to receive like direct deposit. I think when you're in a business and you're using subcontractors, your subcontractors are your lifelines. If they need to be paid. So so I just went through this big process with one of my big construction companies, and it's been wonderful being able to, pay them, know that their money's in their bank account, not if we're going to get a phone call saying, where's my check? So that's what I mean more on like the process end of things, where we come in and we kind of try to improve things so that way, everybody's happy. And, you can make sure that your, business is being run efficiently.
Yeah. And I can tell you, like, in just the past couple of months when you mentioned the post office, like, I like had one client in particular who, is like in, 2 towns over from here, in, Glassboro, right? Or no, I'm sorry, Pittman, projects in Pittman, and it's just like, they're like, yeah, we put it in the mail and it didn't come for like 3 weeks. And the thing was, is it finally shows up, but it was damaged.
I was just going to say, so I literally just received a return Christmas card, literally like 2 weeks ago, and it was all like ripped up. And I'm like, what month are we in? And this is a returned Christmas card.
Yeah. And, and then, because I had to have a conversation. I was like, look, I haven't got your payment yet, so I'm not going to keep on working for you if you're not going to pay me. And you're like, well, I put it in, like, and I'm like, you did? Like, because there's sometimes I've had clients who've said they put it in the mail, but they didn't, that type of thing. But one interesting thing I have found, because I do use, I'll accept online payments through
Mhm.
Square. Like I have a Square account, and one mistake I initially was doing was I wasn't charging the processing fee,
Mhm.
and I'm like, wait, and again, like, I charge somebody $1,000, that's going to cost me $35.
Yep, and that adds up over time.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
does.
So what I do with clients is like, they're like, well, how can we pay you? I was like, well, you can send me a check or you can pay me right now, but I'm also going to add the processing fee. And I make it an even number, like 50, it'll be $50 or 100, depending on what the amount is. And I mean, I have some clients who are like, well, I'll just put a check in the mail or whatever. But there are other ones who are like, well, I guess I'm going to pay an extra $50. Like that was literally one's client's response recently. They're like, I got my credit card ready. Let's do it. Like
Right.
let's on the phone or, obviously I can send an online invoice and do it that way. But yeah, it's I have experience.
Yes, and QuickBooks also is, depending upon what subscription you have, they're now offering free ACH receipts. So
Okay.
if you have it set up where it's connected to your bank account and they pay by their bank account, so they're not paying by credit card, it's free. It's free for both of you.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're not paying a fee. So once again, that depends on what subscription you have, but Intuit is definitely becoming much more sophisticated in the services that they're providing, which is making it much easier for the people that are using it.
Yeah.
I feel like this past year they put out so many great tools. One being the cash flow tool. It's one of my favorite tools now.
Yeah.
Where you can really, I don't know if you have that subscription and you had a chance to utilize that, but it's very simple to use, and it's considered smart software. So it really takes into account your historical transactions, and then you can just edit. And, so if you go back to the case of, you're not getting paid in 90 days, you can go to the cash flow module and it'll tell you, like, oh, you have 2 weeks until your money runs out.
Right.
And then it can help you. So you have this data right in front of you that's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have like the desktop version, and I feel like the online version, I don't know if that's a part of the desktop or not, but I feel like actually I literally got an email yesterday from Intuit who said, hey, you haven't logged in for 180 days. We're going to cancel. So you better log in soon. And I feel like there's probably something on the online version that I'm missing. And, so I have been like thinking, I'm like, maybe I need to kind of switch it up a little bit here and do that. Because to be quite honest, a lot of my subcontractors, they send me invoices through Intuit, and I just, I do exactly what you were saying. Like I, do the ACH, and I don't get charged anything extra for using that. And every time I'm paying one of my subcontractors, I'm like, maybe I should be doing that.
Yeah.
So, but because to be quite honest, I think in terms of my bills, maybe there are three bills a month that I still have to write a check and put it in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a pain in the neck, even though the post office is literally next door. Like I can walk over and put stuff into the mail, but when the stamp book runs out and I got to go over there and buy stamps, I'm just like, oh, why am I doing this? Such a pain in the neck. And I can never find a perfect time of the day to go. I'm like, oh, okay, 3:00 in the afternoon or 2:00 in the afternoon is perfect. And I go over and there's 10 people in line, and it's just like, there's a little, it's one of these things. If this is a pain in the butt, I need to like kind of fine tune this and try to figure out a better way, so, right. But so we've talked online or offline, I'm sorry, from this, and you have a training program that you're looking to launch. So why don't you tell a little bit about the training program that you got going on right now?
Sure. So when I first started came up with the concept of Blackbook, this was actually created at that time in 2015, and it's the Black method. And the whole point of it was more of an accountability for those that don't necessarily need the bookkeeping aspect. So in your case, perfect example, you don't think that you need actual bookkeeping, but you might need accountability. You might need to have a little bit more structure to how you're doing things. And that's more of the training side of it. So I never really did anything with it. I would, I had a lot of entrepreneur startup clients back then, and I would use it on them, but it wasn't something that I marketed. It was more so my own methodology that I would work with. And I always got really great feedback, and I never really did anything with it. And then COVID hit, and everybody's forced in these situations financially. And you had, these moms that were forced to, stay home and not be able to work the way they normally would. Some started, their own side businesses at a time where they weren't expecting to. And I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, I'm trying, I need some help, getting some, structure and process together. And I felt like it manifested itself to me that I think this is the time that I need to launch this that I created, years ago. So really it's, you think about when you want to lose weight, you can lose weight all you want, but chances are you're going to be more successful if you have a personal trainer, that's there with you, checking in with you, telling you kind of like the steps to, the things you need to do, and then having your check-in. And, it's more for the people that need that. So I've done it maybe about I had 7 clients in the past 6 months doing it, and I really feel that it's very valuable, especially for the people that need that, that need that structure, that really want to have control over their financial situations, but still want to live life, and they want to do things the right way. They don't want to just be flying to the seat of their pants. And is that the freeze?
Yeah, no.
Is that the right thing?
Probably one of them. There's probably other ones too, but.
But really, what I really pride myself in with both sides of Blackbook is my goal is really for you to connect with your numbers. So that is very important to me, because if you don't really care about seeing your financials, that's really going to impact your business, because your financials are your lifeline. They matter. You can look in the bank all you want, but you need to have more process and understanding. So you should want to look at your numbers and want to know what you have to do to meet your goals. So I do my best to try and make that a part of the process, to make you want to do that.
Right.
And then, if you're aware of this or not, but there's a whole lot of emotion that goes behind finances. People with money, it's actually it's a huge emotion-driven, concept. The way people are with their money. And so I try to balance numbers and goals with mindset and emotions to kind of help people who may not be number oriented, but they're really wanting to do good, or they are very number oriented, but they don't have the habits and the mindset to get them to where they need to be. Yeah. So that's really where I try to align this program. And my ultimate goal is just to have, a group where, I'm teaching the Black method. I'm helping people. I'm not doing the work for you. I'm just kind of giving the methodology, and have weekly check-ins. And then for the people that want some more individual coaching, then, I'd meet offline with you, and we could set up a coaching meeting about it. But that's really my ultimate goal, is to really help the people that want to, whether it's personally or in business, or starting a business, and it really in any financial situation.
Okay.
But bringing more clarity and process to it.
Yeah, you just answered my next question. I was going to ask if it was like for just business or for personal finances as well, because the some it may be like on the personal side, like let's say a couple who's looking to buy a new house in a couple
Mhm.
years. So that could be a scenario, or well, let me go a little on my personal end. Actually, this is probably the first time I'm ever saying this out loud. Like my wife, I've never even said this to my wife. Is like, hey, in 5-10 years, what if we had a beach house?
Mhm.
Like thing, so you could sit there and like, hey, let's plan that. And, because I feel that, at least, I'll just give an example from, let's just say this is an interview, now you're interviewing me for your program, right? So, when I have finances, you're familiar with like what's it, Dave Ramsey's Total Money
Yes.
Makeover? Yeah.
Yes.
So I read that book maybe 10 years ago, and there was essentially a spreadsheet I think he has in that book. I'd have to break out the book again just to do it, but I've created my own spreadsheet where
Mhm.
I have all of my bills, and I have my personal and business bills all combined together in Excel, and I have it organized by due date. So I know, like, when we were talking about like projections, right?
Mhm.
I know every month when the money runs out,
Yep.
so it's been very handy in that regard, and like I have it even projected where, okay, well, how much money do I need to cover expenses for the next 6 months type of thing. But I think it's it's probably simple, again, wasn't a business major of any sort. I was an architect, and I read a book, and it kind of stuck with me. And so I'm
Yes.
using it, but I'm sure that there's other things there that I'm totally missing. I'm
So
like,
it's so funny. I have my little cheat sheet that I always have with me,
yeah,
and you said the magic word: keep it simple. That's
yeah,
exactly it. It's very simple things that really get you to where you want to be. It's the accountability of it, though, is where a lot of people lack,
yeah.
and the know-how behind it.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to point that out, because I think people think finance and numbers are so complicated, and they hear the word spreadsheet and it's like,
Yeah,
but really it's all very simple stuff, but it can seem very scary to people. That
yeah.
a lot of people get really weird about it because it's emotion, it's
Yep.
scary,
Hmm.
there's fears around money.
Yeah, yeah. I will. I'll add one point there, because when you're talking about emotion, um, and I don't want to get too much into this is a relationship with my wife, right? So the finance. So I'm aware of how much money comes in and out and all that. And again, I have all the personal bills here too. But one of the things I found over the years where it might get heated between us, and I think every couple has this, is that when I'm not telling her what's going on, you
Mm-hmm.
know let's just say, because again, my business, I don't get paid every 2 weeks, so there are some times where the cash flow isn't there, so I got to hold off on paying a bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And then to add to the fact, we have a building here, and some of that money has to go towards the building, and sometimes I can't quite get the money towards the building in time for certain things, so, and there's other family members involved with that as well. So it's just like, but if I'm not telling her that, or she's not aware of that, or like knowing those specific things, that's when it gets heated. But if I go, hey, like I literally did that, like that was happening recently. And I literally just pulled her here into my office, and I sat her down. And I was like, okay, look, you can see here, this is all my receivables. This is how much money is going to be coming in eventually. Here's where we are in terms of like bills and stuff like that. And I'm like, when A, B, and C happens in terms of receivables, then A, B, and C is going to happen in terms of me paying this, and
Mm-hmm.
that. And then it was like, okay, so the things like kind of calm down. We know where it is, but it was the communication of all of that. Once that
Yes.
happened, emotions kind of like went down.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
feel like clarity and communication are two very, very big words in relationship, talking exactly what you said.
Yeah.
The unknowing, can cause a lot of fear in situations like that. But like you
Yeah.
said, just walk through it and it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but this, I mean, so you have clients with this program now, or?
So like I said, I do. It's just more so it's not in a way where it's like marketed that way. But this is what I, a big part of the services that, behind the scenes that happens when, businesses work with Blackbook. It's just that it's not marketed that way.
Okay. So yeah. So what are some of the difficulties you're finding in terms of developing this program?
Honestly,
and launching it, getting to the point to launch it.
So it's more so launching it. I mean, the program's already there. It's been there. It's for me. It was kind of like the thing that I just never did. But I really recognize the need. I'm in a situation where I'm home with my kids all the time now because of COVID. They're virtual learners. I'm not able to bring on as many clients from the the regular Blackbook side of things. So as I'm sitting here trying to think of what can I do to leverage all these situations, and then I have these people reaching out to me. How you were asking about many personal people have reached out and just said, do you have any tips on how I can manage a budget? And it's crazy how many people don't know how to really do that kind of stuff that you were talking about, like have a budget. And we were forced into a situation, a lot of people financially, that they had to figure it out. So right now it's more about the focus and the intention behind it. So that's why I kind of joined the group, the Harvest group.
Right.
I wanted the accountability to really bring this to life. I've been trying to, and something just always would take it away, but it's getting there. Getting there to launch.
So what are you doing? Anything in terms of marketing it now, or?
So I have a schedule right now, that I've been sticking to. I was hoping April 1st would be like the real big announcement, but I'm not sure yet if it's going to be April 1st or not. But I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I'm trying to remember that and just do things without them being perfect.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to make sure that I can clearly, identify the people that I should be talking to, and I want it to be set up properly. So.
Yeah, and early you had mentioned like people have approached you like, hey, I need to budget for like personal finance. Like how, like what did that happen? Like, are they friends or
yeah?
Or
so people. I mean, I do have a lot of connections in the startup community from a lot of women that are that started their own at-home businesses. I've always had connections with them, so they'll reach out to me and they'll ask for advice or different tips on things. And then I mean, my people that know me know that I'm a numbers person. So, and on social media, I do post things, about even things to do with your kids. I mean, I had a program, Blackbook Ventures, that was all about teaching kids how to budget. And so like over the course of the past 6 years now, I've done a lot of different programs and, awareness that people would know that that's something that I do.
Yeah.
And then I think specifically this situation with COVID and how it forced so many people into, unknown waters financially, I think people felt connected enough to me that they felt comfortable to reach out to me. Which that's really what kind of opened my eyes to it, is that, people that I wouldn't have thought would have reached out to me from a personal level, not even business, were reaching out. And it was kind of like, wow, maybe this is something that is worth, considering an actual launch of a program.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's interesting because it's like, and we've we spoke about it offline, but it's like I'm trying to launch a program myself. Now my program is more geared to architects, engineers, people in my industry. But it's like one of those things where I started seeing something that I was providing, we were talking about an accountability group, the Harvest, which we're both members of. And, I started a mastermind group with other architects where it was centered around training for Revit, which is the main drawing software that I use. So the program, I named it, it's called Rich with Revit is the name of it. But I started off about a year ago as a mastermind with a couple other architects. And it was like every week they were willing to come on a Zoom call with me, like 4 or 5 architects to basically, it was like an answer, like it was a mastermind, but it was like, they had questions related to the software, like how to do this, how to do that. And then I would answer the questions, and then it would be like a 3-hour call. And I'm like, and they kept on coming back. And I'm like, wait, there's something here, so now, and I was just providing it as free, now that might be another reason why maybe somebody comes on, but I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, what if I formalize this and monetize it in some way? And I'm still struggling to try to figure out what that is. I initially wanted to launch in March, and then I got super busy with actual project work. So it's been there, but I'm still doing that mastermind now we do it every other week, but I'm still doing that part of it, and I was looking at like, okay, well, how do I launch it now? So actually one of the things I'm doing is I created a club on Clubhouse. I don't know if you use Clubhouse at all, but called Rich with Revit. So every Tuesday at noon, I have a Rich with Revit room that's through that club. And, I've had a day where there might've been 10 people on there. Yesterday, there was one other architect on there, and we actually spoke for an hour about, I come up with topics and whatnot. So that's actually one avenue I'm just kind of looking at right now. Like, well, maybe this will, okay, yeah, there was one, but maybe next week there's 2. And then after that, there's 10, and it could build from there. So, just kind of trying to dip my toes in a few different things and seeing if it works or not right now is where I'm going with it. But yeah, it's, you never know what's going to work, and, you just got to go out there and do it and see.
Yeah. It's interesting. So hearing you speak actually brought me back to really the problem I've always had with launching this is I have a tendency to come up with ideas before there's nothing for me to, go by. So not that I created the very first, part of an idea, but when I thought of this, I had the concept for it to be, one of these Facebook groups, but that really didn't exist back then. It wasn't one of those things where you could easily, get people to go on Facebook in a group and pay money to be a part of a private group. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I struggled with that because I just didn't know how to do it. So it was more so that side of it really kept me from doing it. And then in the past several years, I've noticed that it's so easy for people to do that. And I'm like, that's what I should be doing. But for some reason, I just didn't feel confident enough at that time. And then COVID is what kind of really made me realize that now I can align it. Now I can replicate something, but it's my own. And I feel more confident in doing so. So that's really the answer to that. I felt like I didn't know how to do it at the time. But now, as far as why it's not launching, I feel like I can actually say that it's on its way. Whereas before I was like, yeah, someday. But now I have things in place, and I'm ready to go. I'm hoping April will really be the time where I make the real announcement behind it.
Right, and it's interesting, because again, we're in a group together, right? That we pay, $50 a month, and to be in, and there's a private Facebook group and all of that. And, it's an hour and a half call every week. I'm trying to think, because we're recording this on a Wednesday. So we had the call earlier today. I don't think we necessarily were called on. I mean, I spoke for a moment, I know I did. Maybe you spoke for a moment or two too,
Mhm.
but I don't think we were like called on as like an accountability thing today. But it's like we're paying to be in some
Mhm.
type of group. So it's like proof of concept. I've noticed, I've learned that over the years is that
Yeah.
if there's something out there that's similar to what you want to do, there's already proof of, and you're doing that. It's like there's proof of concept already there that what you want to do can work as well.
Yes.
You know, so it's like what like, and I like, let's just rewind, like probably even like 5 years ago, I used to always think, well, oh, that's not there, so that's the only way I want to do it. It's like, no, if there is something there that you could essentially compete against, it's probably, you'd probably have a better chance of being successful with it than if there wasn't anything there.
Yes, and I know
You know what I mean?
that by experience, and I think that's
Yeah.
why I got so pushed away from it, because I know that from experience, very firsthand. So I have no problem executing, but at the time when it was happening, it was like, okay, I already have one failed concept, but now it's happening all over. But when I was doing it, it was, it was too new for people to understand.
Yeah.
Like a totally different thing, but the proof of concept is exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
To be able to feel comfortable here, but
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Great. Well, yeah, looking forward to April 1st, having that launched.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here now. So if you want to just give it a minute or two here, like how people can contact you, whether through the business or through this program, give the name of the program again and business, and also like how people could contact you via whether email or social media.
Yeah. So email, it's lisa@blackbookllc.com. That's my email. And I will be creating a new Facebook or Instagram page for the Black Method program, but that's not created yet. So I think email is probably the best way. And my personal Facebook page is, I don't really use Facebook for business, but Lisa Joswick, very simple. Look me up on Facebook, because that's really where I'll be posting a lot of, the announcements. So.
Okay. Do you like use LinkedIn or anything?
I do. Yeah.
Or anything?
Yeah. LinkedIn, I'm a little bit more strategic about. I don't just, accept connections. So I wouldn't really recommend LinkedIn. Try and reach out to me unless I know you.
Right. Okay. I don't even think we asked this. Like, where are you located?
So we're a remote company. Blackbook is remote. So we have like clients all over the United States.
Okay.
But Woolwich, New Jersey is where home office is.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Well, Lisa, I appreciate you being on, and
thank you.
looking forward to the launch of the Black Method. Hope here in the next few weeks.
Yes, thank you so much. Actually, thank you very much, really, for having me on this, because this really got me out of my comfort zone to be able to, talk about it for the first time in this way. So I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, no problem. Love to have you on some other time in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for listening. And until next time, thanks again for Lisa for being on. And this is Rich, aka Rich the Architect, signing off. See ya.
Bye.